All right, hello everybody. Happy Thursday. I am Rachel, and I'm here with Lori and Judy. We're
Hello.
here to discuss an article that Lori wrote for this week called "Valuing People Without Judgment." Lori, do you want to give us a quick synopsis of how you got to that article and why you're excited to be sharing it today?
How I got to the article was a comment that my niece made one day. She was telling me that, she really needed to focus on grades so that she could get into a college because she wanted to make something of herself. And so the underlying tone that I got from it was that she would not be anything if she didn't go to college. And so she had really attached that who she was and how she felt about herself to getting good grades so she could get into a good college and make something of herself. And so I started reflecting back on, different things throughout my experience and different things that I hear teachers saying or mentors to kids, like, everybody walk in line and be quiet because that's what good little boys and girls do. And so I started thinking about what message are we sending to people about the value that they carry within themselves. So in other words, one of the examples I use in the article is, put your dishes in the sink because that's what good little boys and girls do. Well, does it really make them a good little boy and girl if they put their dishes in the sink? And why are we assigning that value judgment to an action when it has nothing to do with who they are as a person? So that's what kind of started me down that thought process.
Yeah, yeah. So in some of those examples, is there another way that you would approach it so that maybe, if you separate the action, so let's talk about college, and there is this perception that you need college in order to, move forward in a certain way in life. So how would you approach the conversation with your niece now knowing that that action of college doesn't have to equate to her value? Is there another way that you would have that conversation?
It's interesting because, I usually go to, especially with my kids when they talk about college, do it from a place of inspiration. So are you doing it because you have this passion toward science or physics? So you're really passionate about physics and you want to expand your knowledge of it, or are you doing it because that's where you think you'll make the most money, and that's kind of where everybody's pigeonholing you into because you're so good at it.
Right.
So I always approach it from that perspective. Don't go to college so you can become something. Go to college because you're inspired and want to expand your awareness of it. So from my standpoint, to not put the judgment on someone, and I know I do this with my kids quite frequently, is if their room is a mess. Oh, you drive me crazy. Your room is a mess. I try not to make that connection with them. So I try to separate the two. Like, I like a clean house, so I would really appreciate it if you put your things away. So it's not, I'm frustrated with you because you don't put your things away. I try to separate the house being clean separate from how I feel about them as an individual.
Yeah, and I hear you owning that value for you and not putting it onto another individual needing to represent it for it to be any stronger or less strong in you, which is really cool.
Yeah, so it's not you're a slob, clean up the house. It's I like a clean house, and I would appreciate if you would play a role in putting your stuff away. So it has nothing to do with who they are or, if they're a good or bad person.
Cool.
Excuse me, what's coming up for me in that are the kind of the expectations that we put on people also. So the expectations that, my value of a clean room should be the same as how you value your room. And that's always been a fascinating one for me to play with in terms of my kids and just my environment is, the understanding of, it may not bother somebody else. And then to attach a value, whether or not somebody's a good person or a bad person based on that behavior is really, I think it's common. And I don't think that we understand that we're always doing it. And I think if we really understood that we were doing it, we would be like, well, of course I don't mean that. Of course it's not what I'm trying to do, but the message comes across a lot of times loud and clear for sure.
And it's interesting because I've been playing with the flip side of that because I was at this women's event yesterday where some highly successful people were on this panel and they've really accomplished a lot. So they were going through all their accomplishments and, what they've done. And so I'm sitting there and I'm like, I'm really inspired by them because they're these powerful women. And so here comes a value judgment again. I start placing a judgment, but it's in the opposite side. Now I'm looking up to them as mentors and these people who are really accomplished because they've done all these things. And so I'm like, am I valuing their opinion because of what they've done? And when I really went into that, I thought, no, I'm not. Because this one lady in particular, the impression I got as she was speaking, and having been a coach for so long and kind of been in the energetic field, you really pick up from people. You know, you meet someone and you're like, I just feel like we're on the same wavelength. Mm-hmm. Well, so I could pick that up from her. And she just, the way she articulated herself, the way she went about her businesses, I was sitting there going, that's totally how I would do it. So I don't feel like I was judging her so much on her accomplishments, or it was, to me, it was more so on, I was judging her from the connection I had with her.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So are you saying, what I'm hearing you saying that is there's a discernment piece?
Yes.
So just because somebody has achieved something, you still get to discern whether or not you value what that person has done. And just because they've achieved it doesn't mean that you have to place and buy into the fact that that is the way you would do it, or that's something you should value.
Exactly. And the other component of that is, if she were up there and she were being a complete jerk, I may not have valued what she had accomplished because it didn't resonate with me. Mm-hmm. So had her approach been different, or she'd been like, you know, I worked hard and I climbed my way up and I had to step on a few people, I might have been like, yeah, okay, that's not my definition of success and I don't resonate with that. So in my mind, I'm not valuing who you are because it doesn't resonate with me. It may be your way and that's great. And so I value you because you're doing it your way, but it's just not my way.
And I hear underlying in all of that a desire to value people. And so I hear you, like, and specifically in this article, noting where you are struggling to maybe find the value in someone. And the way that you've been able to do it is to say, okay, there's judgment there. And the judgment is actually around the behavior, which isn't the person. So you've been able to find for yourself a way to separate out the judgment of the thing so that you can still hold true to, I can value these people no matter what, because I enjoy valuing people. That's really cool.
And that's what it is for me. That's all it is for me. And I know I've mentioned this before, but I have this innate ability to see the value within every individual. So when I don't see that being portrayed, in my mind, there's a gap. It's like, okay, wait, no, I see the value in you, yet you're portraying yourself this way, and there's a gap there. And I think because I see that, I have the opposite, I can see it from the other perspective. And so I do see where in society we are attaching value to the action. Yeah. And I'm like, but wait a minute, that person's awesome. Why do they have to do all these things to be awesome? Yeah. I can see they're awesome without having done any of this stuff. I mean, I see the D students. I hear stories about, you know, the student who didn't do well in school, and they're this amazing kid. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, why are you not highlighting how amazing they are? You're doing it off of a grade or off of whether or not they went to school or whether or not, you know, their room is a mess. Mm-hmm. When here's this beautiful being capable of anything, and you're missing that aspect of them. You're assigning it to all these external. And that's another thing I get into in the article, is everything becomes so external that the child actually picks up, I have to do all these external things to feel good about myself.
Yeah.
And that's where the distorted view of themselves comes in. That's where their disempowerment comes in, their identity crisis comes in.
Yeah. Or I have to do all of these external things for you to feel good about me.
Yeah. Exactly. And I need you to feel good about me because I haven't developed how to feel good about myself.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I have a kind of a weird example. So when I was 14, I had cancer, and the value that was placed on me through surviving and through being like, I kept doing everything. I was so strong. I was like, and so all of a sudden, me as a valuable human being was only valuable when I could muscle through anything. Like that, like, I'm independent, I can muscle through it, which sounds great. And in the long run, there are many times where I don't feel that way. And so when I didn't, it was devastating. And so you sharing this is allowing me to unpack, you know, people really valued like the behavior that I portrayed during that time. And I am valuable separately from that. So I don't need to be totally attached to it. And I can be like grateful that I was able to embody a value that really meant something to some people, and that I'm still valuable with or without it. It's really cool.
Yeah. And you can embrace that vulnerable aspect of yourself. You know, sometimes I get A's, sometimes I get D's.
Yeah.
Great. So you're embracing all aspects of yourself because they're all components of you. You can't always be this perfect, accomplishing, you know, go out there and achieve great success people. And so to embrace those times when you don't want to get out of your pajamas and you want to lay in your bed and eat ice cream, embracing those times and saying, you know, this is an aspect of me that I can love because I don't need to deny it, because I don't have to be anything in particular to love myself.
Lots of permission there and love.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Any last minute thoughts that you wanted to add? That was such a cool article. I think there's actually a lot to unpack in it. And so I'm still, you know, using it to go, what about this? Or, oh my gosh, behaviors connected to people. Where else can I separate them out? Where else am I attaching value when it's not, you know, it's misguided, and that's okay, you know? So I think there's a lot to explore here, which is really cool. Is there anything else that you would really like to land?
Well, and it may have felt disjointed, but the last couple sentences in my article was how everyone has an agenda for your life. And everyone has a way that they want you to be. You know, parents want their kids to be clean or to be smart, and teachers want their kids to be studious, and bosses want their employees to be accountable. And I mean, we all have these ideas that we put on other people and how we want other people to be. And so I end the article with, it's important to be clear on what you want for yourself, because then as others' ideas and concepts are put on you, you can discern, you have a greater chance of discerning, is this what I want for me, or is it just what this other person wants for me?
Cool.
And so I end the article with that so that you can start looking inside and saying, what do I need for me?
Yeah, I love that. I absolutely love that. And it's a great segue because we actually have a human progress training that's going to be coming up in April. It's our spring program where we legitimately for 10 weeks join together with other people who want to do that self-discovery process and do that self-discernment and kind of start to parse out, is this mine? Is this not mine? What do I want to do with it? So if you want to have conversations like this with us, we also do individual coaching, but I will share, we have 3 days left. If you sign up within the next 3 days, you'll get 20% off that spring HPT. So go over to thrivehdc.com. That's Thrive, H as in happy, D as in dance, C as in community. Just came up with those.
That was beautiful.
And check it out, or you can reach out to us and ask us whatever questions you want. But thank you so much, Lori. That was an amazing article. I had a lot of fun unpacking it and chatting with you ladies about it. So
thank you.
So fun. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks everybody, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.